And we're open for the Conservation Commission for November 19th. And we have minutes to approve from November 5th, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Move second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We do have one continued public hearing that was supposed to come in, which we haven't seen yet. And other than that, other than an update on 245 South Street issuing the cease and desist, has that?
Yes, the
Okay.
cease and desist letter went out. Basically, it says that you aren't allowed to throw any types of debris, lawn debris, yard waste over your property line onto the abutter's property because it's a wetland and is protected under the Wetlands Protection Act. And short and sweet, basically says stop, cease. Well, big bold letters on top, cease and desist. So I don't anticipate that that's going to be an issue, but if it does, just we'll go back out and deal with it.
Want to give them a few minutes, or do you think that
Boy.
I mean, to replace for the existing cesspool, it's kind of want to get that thing done. You want to be here, right?
what they did was the set of plans they were going to revise
Management.
because they were looking to expand the building and what they were doing with it and how they were doing it, so that they wanted new entrances put in, and so that needed to go on the plan. And that's basically what we were
just
waiting
doing that
for.
then, all right.
And then we also wanted a barrier to keep them from encroaching again, like they did before, not this particular owner, but the previous one. And that needs to be shown on the plan. But I don't have my phone with me, but I could go upstairs and give them I don't know. We haven't seen the plan, so.
Right, I mean, they did get plans in, and we did tell them that we needed the plans in a week before.
Week
so-
before.
Well,
But they didn't ask for continuance either, which.
And I did call them today and asked if they were coming, and they said yes.
Oh, well,
So that's the only reason we held out.
stay around until the last time.
Give them 5 more minutes, and then
Yeah, I mean, can
we're
we
just,
just go on?
we had nothing else. That's why I'm like,
Nothing to sign?
We can
Nothing to sign because 194 was the signature.
What's the, just do the agent's report for the East Center Street? Talk about that or not?
East Center Street?
Yeah.
I can talk about that.
Yeah, everything on
So, as everybody knows, I did obtain a search warrant for, to get on the property. I did do the inspection. I took a bunch of pictures. There's a lot of wetlands around the peripheral portion of the site with large stockpiles of sludge right adjacent to the wetland and then back away from the wetland. But it's definitely within 100 feet, and some of the stumps and tree trunks that are pushed up against the wetlands, obviously those weren't done with any particular plan or permission, so they're going to need to address that. And I've heard through good sources that a local person who does some surveying is involved with it, and Azu has approached me about the project as well. So apparently they are working with the property owner to try to get him through this process. But I haven't heard from the owner.
they can't leave that stockpile for too long, can they? I mean,
No, the DEP has restrictions on how long you can stockpile it. It's supposed to be applied, not
Right.
stored. And so once it's stored in large piles of sludge, it becomes like a landfill operation, and they need to have permission from DEP and the Board of Health to be able to do that. So we don't want DEP at this point getting involved with it unless they have to, but if we reported that it's being stockpiled there, they'd be right on it, because they do the same thing for the person who manufactures it. When it gets to be too much on his site, they get up after him to remove it and get rid of it. And that's why all of a sudden there's this big rush to get sludge delivered to different farmers or whoever wants it, and because DEP's pushing the manufacturer. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed that everything works well for this process and we get it straightened out.
Why did he have sludge there? He's not agricultural, right? Why was that?
Well, he came in when he first received the letter with a report from it's what is now the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is the old USDA, that showed that he could do a tree farm there. And so, and he's got at least 5 acres of land, so I think he has an agricultural tax protection on the fact that it's a agricultural piece of land. And I said, that's fine, you have every right to farm in West Bridgewater and on that piece of land, but you have to stay out of the wetlands and you have to abide by the requirements of the town's stormwater bylaw, which specifically prohibits, it doesn't prohibit, it exempts agricultural users of sludge as long as they're in compliance with all the regulations. And I said, if you can show me you're in compliance, then you'll be okay. But if you can't, then you can't do what you're doing. And so at that point, I sent him all the information that we have as far as the regulations and so forth. And then I had no more contact with him, and that's when I got the search warrant. Now that I've seen it, I can say that he's not in compliance. It's just definitely not being applied properly. It's being stockpiled improperly. So we can work with him to get it into compliance, and he can still do his farming, but it'd be a lot less sludge being applied to the land than what's there now. So in effect, what he's been able to do is take the sludge from the manufacturer, and I'm sure he was paid to take it, and so
He just, okay.
there's now going to be a consequence to that if he has to remove it, because it's too much to be able to apply it to the land, and
I'm too close.
it'll ruin it.
No.
And I don't know, it's just too bad.
Did we ever figure out, I know this was a while ago, we talked about what was in the sludge. Did we ever get anything on that? I took it by your face, we didn't. So we don't really know.
So what happens is that the manufacturer has to take periodic samples of the sludge and have it tested in a lab. And the DEP has a whole list of contaminants that they allow, as long as the amount of contaminant in that sludge is below their threshold, below the maximums that they would allow. And according to everything that the former sludge committee back in, 2010, I think it was, that we had a sludge committee. We went through all of those lab reports, and they indicated that they were within the limits of the requirements, so that it was acceptable. The whole question comes up is how much do you spread on a cornfield? And there are ways to determine that through the UMass Extension Service, which will test the soil, tell you how much to apply per acre, and it isn't something that you dump and push with a bulldozer or a front end loader. It's something that you spread either with such as a manure type spreader, or through spray. A lot of times they'll liquefy it and spray it onto the ground, and And that's the kind of application that you need to do. And the whole problem of the sludge some years ago was the fact that it wasn't being done that way either, and it was being landfilled, basically. So,
And people get paid to take them.
yes, because it costs so much more money for the person who manufactures it to take it to a landfill and pay the landfill costs, or to a specific site that will allow the sludge material to be landfilled on that property. And if you can cut your costs by 1/3, it's worth it. If you can cut it by 1/2, it's even better. And
But it's still restricted from wetland
Yes.
application. You can't
Yeah.
leak in, you can't.
and you can't bring it within 50 feet of the wetland. Unless, again, it's
You
being,
can eat it, but you can't drink it.
and you are allowed to get a little closer to the wetlands than 50 feet if you are providing a buffer strip and you're applying it according to the required rate.
And that's what was missing here? There's no buffer?
No buffers.
No measured application, nothing like
Right.
nothing.
Well,
Interesting.
I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for 194 South Main Street. Next meeting?
Yes. Which is December 3rd, is it?
Third, yes. I'll
I
make
have a motion. Second?
Second.
Moved all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well moved.
Was that Steve and Ryan?
Yep.
Okay.
And having nothing else on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Two of these.
We're done.
This